This is the first mouse from Vaxee that I'm actually a fan of. This is their new XES, which is a smaller version of the Vaxee XE, but it's also gone through some slight changes and it's all for the better. The hum feels less aggressive in the hand compared to the regular XE. It's a bit flatter, so when I play claw more aggressively I can pull it all the way back into my palm with comfort, supported by the back flare leading to my thumb cushion and pinky slightly wrapping around it. And honestly, that's majorly it. It's just a mainstream way of making a mini version of a more popular shape, and I'm not against it in this case. Some other refinements the XES has gone through are more notably the side buttons. They have a spacing between them, creating more room for potential misclicks. But on top of that, every click feels more fine-tuned. There's more body to the clicks without them being too heavy or fatiguing, still making use of 1/0 black shell white dots. They do still have quite a bit of protrusion, so nothing you can easily roll your thumb onto comfortably. The main clicks are more rigid, and also feel like they have a bit more body to them, also making use of 1/0 black shell pink dots. Sessions will still be spammable, but they do have a decent amount of post-travel that gets noticeable if you really spam your clicks. But it is more forgiving on this mouse, as the main clicks do rebound well. They do have a bit of play to them, which in the future can definitely be fine-tuned, as they've went away with their old design being a separate base inside the shell to house the clicks and PCB, now having just a normal hollow shell, without having any structural issues like flexing or creaking. The scroll wheel itself has gone through quite a bit of changes, giving us a more spiked scroll band on a transparent scroll wheel, versus the full rubber wheel, which I will kind of miss. They make use of a pretty generic black scroll encoder, which does make it sound noisier and feeling is quite a bit more cheaper. The middle mouse button is super stiff and hard to actuate, making use of a 1/0 black shell red dot, which will easily slow down or hinder you if you make use of it a fair bit, and in my case being for pinging or just random healing binds in a game. The base has seen a big overhaul. We have smaller skates, still being the white dyed PTFEs that Vaxee uses, which does get the job done. I just always prefer dots or smoother skates in general. Now the biggest takeaway is the removal of all the extra buttons they implemented for each individual customization option. Now everything is controlled by a couple of combos for the DPI, polling rate, and the liftoff distance. It's convenient and it does save weight. And also speaking of weight, it is still a bit chunky at 60 grams. I'm not saying it's unbearable, just that I want brands to realize that having a small mouse and compacting all that it has to offer does make it feel dense if it's not spread out. But now in this case, it's not that bad considering we also have a smaller battery at 400 mAh. There isn't a chassis inside the shell for the main clicks and extra support, and like I mentioned earlier, they do take away all the extra buttons based on the bottom for customization. But on top of all that, this is also Vaxee's first mouse using the publicly available 3950 sensor, which does give it a higher boost in performance, especially on their comp mode and higher polling rates. This is hands down my favorite Vaxee mouse, even if it is majorly just a small XE, which ironically I didn't like at all. Needless to say, the negatives are still there, and I'd like Vaxee to eventually create better overall mice, even if the shapes are enjoyed by many. We need an updated coating, more weight reduction, better tuned firmware so the battery doesn't die as quick as it does currently, an improved scroll wheel, removal of the DPI button on top, and last but not least, getting their prices lower eventually. At the end of the day, you're still paying $140 US for this mouse that has a great shape, but the trade-off leaves a lot to be desired.